So I was recently blocked on social media by an old friend who had gone down the QAnon rabbit hole. I tried providing facts and sources for every one of the wild theories she posted about, but it somehow just kind of made her more convinced there was an international conspiracy, and it was frustrating. She believed coronavirus wasn't really killing hundreds of thousands of Americans, and Bill Gates was trying to microchip us via vaccine, and millions of journalists and politicians are working together to traffic children all around the globe in some sort of pedophilia ring. But tens of millions of Americans now agree with her. So I researched 3 ways that QAnon sucks people in, and 3 ways to talk to a friend or relative who starts believing. First, just the quickest of primers about QAnon. It sort of picked up steam back in 2016 with PIZZAGATE, the conspiracy theory that claimed Hillary Clinton and other top politicians were coordinating with a DC pizza joint to traffic children into the sex trade so they could torture them, then drink their blood to reverse aging. Since then, posts by an alleged government insider nicknamed Q claim Clinton's satanic cult is funded by Jews and includes an enormous number of high-profile celebrities, including the Queen of England, Chrissy Teigen, Oprah Winfrey, and Tom Hanks. QAnon also embraces just about every other long-standing conspiracy, casting doubt on vaccine science, the dangers of COVID-19, even the Holocaust. Pretty much the only prominent celebrity that's not part of this deep state cabal, President Donald Trump, who was allegedly sent to us to break up this trafficking pedophilia ring and communicates with Q followers through his tweets. Those misspellings and grammar mistakes, those are code. Of course, just about every claim that QAnon makes is demonstrably false. But present evidence of that to someone who believes, and they're likely to just see it as evidence that you're part of it too. We can't win. And it's becoming a real problem, because Q's disinformation is prompting more and more people to reject real facts, call for violence in America, and cut off family members who don't join the movement.
They have a completely different version of reality that they're walking around in and existing in. Eventually, I had to say, I can't do this. I can't deal with this stress, and I had to cut off contact with them.
We found Amber Slutowski on a Reddit board for users who had lost family members to QAnon. To learn more about how the movement recruits, we connected with her, a former Q follower, and a psychologist who's studied conspiracy theories for decades.
Uncertainty is one of the drivers. When we feel uncertain, when we feel powerless, when we feel like we're lacking control, we seek out explanations. We want to know why.
That's Dr. Joanne Miller from the University of Delaware, pointing out one huge reason Q has taken off this year has been the unknown surrounding coronavirus, a struggling economy, and racial unrest, none of which come with simple solutions.
The problem is that in our desperate need to find an answer, we can sometimes connect dots that shouldn't be connected.
People probably don't even realize they're sharing Q disinformation at first because conspiracy videos like the viral Plandemic movie can seem so real. So you share it, then look for more answers, and find that Q has plenty of them to fit almost any narrative you want. Q also offers up plenty of scapegoats. The economy is the fault of society's elites. Face masks were the idea of sex traffickers who wanted to obscure their identities. And everything else, well, just blame it on racial minorities, religious minorities, or whichever politicians you dislike.
We might not even know that we're doing it, but we tend to be attracted more to information that confirms our beliefs. It's uncomfortable for us to learn that we might be wrong, right? So we avoid that information.
And I think that it's distorted their perception of me entirely. They seem to perceive anything that I say that is a vague criticism as a rejection of their entire self. And there are some really good things about them that I miss. Sorry, talking about this stuff is really hard.
The second thing that helps Q manipulate so many people has been social media algorithms that Miller say flood the feed of someone checking out one conspiracy with a host of other, increasingly extreme theories. They suck you in, then keep you coming back for more.
Honestly, I've no idea how I got to that point where I started to believe what they were saying. Every single bit of information that you see, it just sounds true to you.
It's not an American thing, it's a human nature thing.
So my name is Sam, I'm from the UK, and I fell down into the QAnon rabbit hole, and now I've come out the other side a lot better.
Sam said discovering new QAnon theories was exciting. The more he read, the more he was fed. and the more he wanted to share them.
You've got all of this new information, stuff that you never heard before, stuff that you would never think of as happening. And then you kind of just take it all in, and all you want to do is tell other people about it, spread the word. It is like a cult, that's the thing. But to me, it's just scary, the fact that I've literally started to get other people to believe in it.
By lumping together multiple conspiracy theories, Q is able to manipulate a believer in one into a believer in all, including the stuff about a former First Lady teaming up with celebrities to traffic child prostitutes. And by lumping its disinformation in with real issues, like our innate desire to stop crimes against children, Q can spread its message even faster. But instead of fighting crime, these posts are just serving to disseminate disinformation and confuse the world about what sources we can trust. The third thing leading people down the Q hole? Politicians who embrace conspiracies. To the FBI, QAnon is a domestic terror threat, but to others, it's a golden opportunity.
We have a president who either implicitly or explicitly, through his tweets, through press conferences, news conferences that he's had, at his rallies, has made overtures to Q.
The theory is this belief that you are secretly saving the world from this satanic cult of pedophiles and cannibals. Does that sound like something you are behind? Or
well, I haven't heard that, but is that supposed to be a bad thing or a good thing? I mean, you know, if I can help save the world from problems, I'm willing to do it.
That's not to say the president believes his political opponents are pedophiles, but he's not afraid to retweet posts that suggest it. Or other Q content, like this tweet claiming 90% of reported COVID-19 deaths weren't really from the virus. And his kids amplify QAnon too. Their massive collective following has only lent credibility to a movement that wants you to tune out journalists and scientists and evidence and logic. When someone you know starts posting about coronavirus conspiracies and cannibalistic politicians, your first instinct is probably to reply with facts. That's what I did. And often, that's the worst thing you can do.
No one likes to be told, especially publicly, especially if it's on social media, you're wrong, you're wrong, you're wrong, you're wrong. Once you believe a conspiracy theory, it's very hard for factual information to shake you out of that belief.
So the first thing to do when someone you know starts posting about crazy conspiracies, don't tell them they're crazy. Instead, listen first.
It requires, I think, us to be empathetic, to ask questions, to come at this with an open mind, or at least seem like you have an open mind.
Q followers believe they've been enlightened, and it's their job to enlighten you. It's no different than a religious cult. So give them a chance to enlighten you, in exchange for a chance that you'll be heard.
One of the best ways to get people to change their minds is to make them think they're changing their mind on their own.
Our British friend Sam said one specific documentary helped him break a vicious cycle.
Well, I recently watched something called The Social Dilemma on Netflix, and I really asked them to watch that and then come out the other end and see how they've been manipulated into believing something.
The second piece of advice for talking to QAnon followers is to show them the real damage the movement is causing. When Q recently alleged Antifa activists were starting wildfires in Oregon, local sheriffs were inundated with tips from followers all around the country. Tips that were not true. And law enforcement had to beg callers then to stop wasting precious resources in an emergency. Similar episodes are playing out on the sex trafficking front. Look, you aren't asking for the disinformation to stop because you support child exploitation. You're asking for it to stop because that would allow law enforcement to do its job better. Because sex trafficking is a real problem, but it doesn't work in anywhere near the way QAnon suggests. The biggest contributor is homelessness. Working to end that, however, just doesn't fit the Q agenda. And the third piece of advice when you start to see someone go down that rabbit hole is don't let them get isolated. Be there for them.
I think that people wrapped up in QAnon feel vulnerable to the problems in the world. Maybe they feel lonely. And that maybe in some circumstances, making them feel less that way would help.
Seek conversations that aren't lectures, discussions that aren't debates. Because the more you can build that relationship, the more they're likely to trust you down the road instead of some stranger or bot on the internet. So to recap, listen first, show the real damage of disinformation, and don't let someone get isolated. Let a loved one who goes down that rabbit hole know that you'll still be there waiting for them on the other side. Amber hopes she can get back there one day with her family.
No matter what's happened in the past, I love them and I'll always cherish the good things about them. But sometimes you have to do what is right for your mental health.